the game isn't played that way.
Welcome to the Social Engineer Podcast. We're on podcast number 8, if you can believe that. We have with us today Maddie, or Mutz. How you doing, Maddie?
Doing great.
Also, we have Jim, or Elwood. How you doing, Elwood?
Really well.
And Dave, Relic. How are you doing?
Hello.
How are you doing?
All of a sudden, you sound New Yorkish, Maddie. And of course, myself, or Logan, or Chris. So what's up? What's going on, guys? Anything new going on your end of the world?
Well,
Awkward silence.
Yeah, dead silence. Crickets chirping.
Well, I think Dave deserves the first go at it. I think he has probably the most news.
Yeah, I think so too. I got the email, Dave. Very exciting stuff.
what are you guys talking about?
Oh,
There's a new site.
Yeah, the new site, Sack Maniac. Right? We can go down that road if you want. If you don't want to talk about set.
No, that's fine. We can talk about it. That's fine.
Okay.
No, set version 0.5 is actually in beta testing right now. I sent it out to probably about 10 people or so, and actually had some really good feedback. So got some bugs worked out of it. It's pretty much ready for release. Looking at mid to late April. I'll be speaking at Nauticon in a week, and then InfoSec World in Orlando in 2 weeks. So I figure probably around those times I'll release it. But I mean, you guys had a chance to play with it, right? At least see the demo.
Yeah.
I never got a copy.
You want a copy?
I never got one.
You never use it anyway, so that's why I don't give it to you.
Ah.
Oh, you know, he just dissed you, Mutz. Really.
He did. He
Really,
did.
big time.
Live.
Listen, I'll give you root on all my boxes, but I mean,
No,
you'll
he already
never
has
use it.
root on your boxes.
Deal.
He wants something new. He already has root on all your boxes.
All right, so come on, let's hear about it then.
All right, so on version 0.5, there's a new feature in the website cloning. So as you know, in version 0.4, I added the ability to be able to clone a website and use the Java applet attack or the Metasploit attack. This new one is now a credential harvester, basically. And what it'll do is it'll allow you to clone any site you want to on the internet. And then it'll actually rewrite the web page in a sense that sends all the post parameters back to you. So like, for example, if you were to clone Gmail, it would have the username and password fields in there. As soon as the user was enticed to go to that link, enters their username and password, hit sign on, all the information, including the username and password, is presented back to you, and then it redirects them back to the original Gmail themselves, so they really don't know that what hit them. And so that was a new addition. And also, with that same attack, we added a reporting structure. So it'll actually generate an HTML-based report, as well as export XML, so that you can tie it into whatever tool you want to, or you can use the HTML reports to look at all the parameters that you were able to harvest out of it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That's
Yeah,
like
and
an advanced phishing framework.
Absolutely. That's what it's pretty much turning out to, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
Does it work if you try to clone Gmail? Does it look convincing?
Yes.
It looks like it's identical in every way, shape, and form.
Really. Damn it!
Yeah.
I tried it on my wife. She fell for it.
Well, you know what? I mean, when you first made that, I remember you asked me that. I logged in and I watched you do a demo of it, and I mean, when you clone it, it is Gmail. Basically, it's the same exact site. It looks identical. What I loved about it was right after the guy typed in the credentials, it just went right back to the actual Gmail site.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he tried to log in again, he gets to his email. But by then, he's already owned.
Yep.
I thought
And
that
then-
was just excellent.
Yeah. So it literally took me like 2.5 days just to write the insane 2-liner regular expression for it. But lo and behold, it was one regular expression to rule them all. So we've been testing it on pretty much, I don't know, hundreds of different sites, just testing it out, and so far it's been working 100%. So.
Is it able to proxy the credentials to the correct site later on? So it's like a
It's not. That's definitely something we can look at. The only problem with that is every website's coded, very differently. So you'd actually have to. There's a lot of work that would be involved with that, and it'd have to be very specific, probably to a lot of different sites.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's pretty seamless. If they're already logged into the system itself, it automatically redirect them. So, like for example, if they're already logged into Gmail, it redirects them. They'll be in their Gmail. But if they're not, obviously they'd have to enter the credentials in.
That's awesome.
And then the second major thing with it is I added the just a real simple USB DVD phishing scheme where or USB. What it'll do is it'll take a Metasploit payload, create a folder for you with that payload, and then automatically create the auto run for you. So basically, you burn it to a DVD or CD, you drop it off somewhere, and then they insert it into the computer and automatically compromises them with the Metasploit payload.
Awesome.
Yep.
So like a built-in hacksaw creator.
Essentially, yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. This took on a life of its own, didn't it?
It's crazy. It just keeps going.
Yeah. Before you know it will be like you talk to your computer and it just pawns a universe.
That's an 0.6 actually.
Oh, that's
Now let me ask you the most annoying question. So what's going to happen at 0.6?
yeah.
I have no idea. It takes on a life of its own every time. So
Yeah, you know what I love about it is how the community all comes around it. Everyone seems to give you suggestions. They send them in either to our site or through the newsletter or whatever. And then the next version has got like these crazy things that just seem like some fanatic having a weird idea, but it happens and it's there.
yeah, I mean the credential harvester I think came from Chris Nickerson at Exotic Liability. So I think he started asking about that and being able to add that functionality into it. And I just people keep asking me, hey, how, this would be cool if it was in there. So I just keep the ideas, see if they're good or not, and then move them in there.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to see it. The released to the public. I already have it. So.
Did you guys see the code name?
Oh wait, hang on. Return of the Lemon.
Return of the Lemon. I almost did Rise of the Lemon, but then I thought that'd be a little bit bad.
Return of the Lemon. That's great. No one's gonna know what the heck that means.
No, which is the good thing.
Good for them. Yes.
Yes, very good for them. But let's not explain it here. So that's excellent news. Along with beta testing Set, we got a really nice little thing I want to talk about here in the podcast. The Perturva guys have taken the last quite a few months and they've redone Maltego. Maltego 3.0 is going to get released in the next, I think, 2 to 4 weeks. But they've taken 10 people and they've given the beta of Maltego 3, and thankfully I was able to get on that list, and I have a version of Maltego 3. It is a beautiful, beautiful system.
What's different about it?
Yeah, what's different?
Well, the major thing you'll notice as soon as you open is of course the interface. The user interface it's not completely different, but it's much more user friendly. Like at navigating, getting through it, a lot easier to do that even for someone who's not familiar with Maltego at all. But where you'll see a lot of the difference is in the transforms. A ton of new transforms are there. They have a lot of transforms now geared towards social media and social networks.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah, very useful. I was just playing with it the other day after I got it, and they have some transforms that are not. You know how before a lot of the social media transforms ran off of Rapleaf, and if I don't know if you guys ever had success with that, but I usually did not have much success. Like Rapleaf would work once, and then it wouldn't work the next 10 times. That transform in particular. If you wanted to get any other transforms like the Facebook one or others, you had to usually go about it in the shadows because there was legal reasons why you couldn't have that. Well, now they have a whole bunch of new transforms in there that are geared towards harvesting information without breaking those paths for social media. So it's just a really, really great. I just got it, so I don't have a ton of information on it, but I'm going to be playing with it, and they gave me permission to take a few screenshots. They don't want me to release videos or anything with it yet, understandably so, but to take some screenshots and to be able to release them on our blog and talk about it. So I'm going to be delving deeper into it, hopefully getting some really great info out of it, and then putting that on the website. So pay attention for that. And I think the release date again is at the end of April or beginning of May for Maltego 3. So it's just going to be a hot release. Yeah, a lot of fun. I'm trying to think. There was a couple things that happened the last month. I think that Jim, you and I were talking about mentioning these. We had a few people come into the channel. We didn't mention this the last couple podcasts, and I think we should because a lot of people are asking how they can communicate with us and talk to us. I'll mention this again at the end of the podcast, but you can always we do have a Twitter account, Human Hacker, where we tweet about certain things, social engineering, or things are happening on our site. Our website, of course, social-engineer.org, but our IRC channel is channel social-engineer on freenode.net.
We're always on there.
Yeah, we're always on. I mean, there's always somebody there. We got the late night guys as well as Elwood. I don't even know if the guy ever sleeps, but he's there a lot. But we had a couple people come on recently, and they were saying, "Boy, wouldn't it be nice if with every podcast there was a list of URLs or notes from the podcast?" And and I said, "Boy, we really kind of epic failed at promoting that, because since the first podcast, we've had a podcast notes page with every podcast." And I guess we just haven't really been talking about that as much. So on the Social Engineer website, on the podcast section, if you just click on the podcast section there's a link for each individual podcast. And when you go to that, not only is the podcast there to download, or if you get it through iTunes, but everything about the podcast, what we talk about and outline, the questions we've asked, if there's interesting links, how-tos, videos, all of that thing is in the podcast notes to help complete what you've been hearing on the podcast. So we encourage you to log in there and check that out if you haven't yet.
And we'll have a link to that in the show notes, so check that out.
That's great.
Jim stole my thunder there, because I was going to do the exact same thing.
But I'm glad that no offense, Roland, but I'm glad that Jim did it, because he says it so serious that when he first said it,
I know.
I had to think, and I'm going, wait, yeah, we will link it. Wait, hang on, why am I going to link the page that I'm talking about in the page I'm talking about?
Well, I was torn because I was either going to go the route that Jim went or repeat the entire thing that you said about having the show notes page. So,
you know what I'm going to do though, Jim? I'm going to actually link to it now.
You have to.
I have
It'll
to.
be a
it's in the
recursive
podcast.
link. Yeah.
That's great. The newsletter this month, we had Dave. You wrote your first article for the newsletter. We got some. We got some good feedback on that. As a matter of fact, last month I used the guy that I should give a shout out to him. Jay is his name. He offered to do editing for us, and we sent out last month's newsletter to him like a week early, and he edited. And then when we sent it out, there was like no errors. No spelling errors, no grammar errors. It just was pretty and nice, and he did a great job at it. And this month, I didn't do that. I don't know why I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. And I guess we got called out on a couple.
Yeah, that was funny. It's all
yeah,
right.
that was funny. So
it's the no prize. Win the no prize.
Yeah, we misspelled a couple simple things. So if you're reading that and you're wondering if we really are that dumb,
yes.
Yes, Elwood is. So
That's right.
so just forgive us and realize that we'll get better with time.
Or not.
Or not. Couple things. Sponsors. Spy Associates. SpyAssociates.com. This month they sent me. Man, I tell you, how at Shmoo, you guys remember how I have that the bug detector?
Yeah.
So I was talking to the guy, and I said, this thing is awesome. And he was telling me, he's saying, this is our best. His name is Jeff. Jeff is saying to me, this is the best product that we have for bug detection, because it does everything. It actually will detect. The FBI's using laser beams now. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but they take a laser beam.
Yeah, on shark heads.
Not on shark heads, no.
Oh.
Austin Powers. They take a laser beam and they shoot it at a window, like across the way to a hotel, and the sound in the room reverbs off of the glass, and it travels back up the laser beam, and they can hear the sound that's going on in the room just from shooting a laser at a window.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess they call it the Infinity. That's the name for this kind of bug, and this thing actually detects that. It detects phone taps, GPSs. I didn't know that, but if we had that GPS that we tested originally, it actually will find GPS units hidden on vehicles or on people. So I said to him, man, this thing is awesome. He wants me to promote the heck out of it, but I don't know. I said, I need to have something to promote it. So he sent me this bug kit, this spy bug kit. This thing is ridiculous. I got to tell you about this. I'm going to put the pictures and everything up there. But it has this little tiny black box that you can charge, and the battery holds for days. and the thing is tiny, and it has like 1,000-foot or more range. And you put it in the room, and then the receiving unit is also charged and battery powered, so you don't have to have it plugged in. And you can be walking around with this thing in your pocket. It's tiny. The reception is crystal clear, and it's just unbelievable, and it picks up sound, and it's not just the media. I mean, I put this thing all over, and I was testing it. It picks up sound in other rooms that are adjacent to the room that you've bugged.
Nice.
Really, really high-quality bug kit. They call it, the name of it is a professional-grade RF audio bug kit, about 1,000 feet wireless transmission range.
How much does this thing cost, if you don't mind me asking? Because, I actually am scoping these guys and going to be purchasing some stuff from them for work, so...
I actually don't mind you asking. Let me just see. He sent me...
Well, if he did mind, I would still ask anyway. I'm just letting you know.
I know you would.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Let me pull that up, and I will tell you very shortly what this thing costs.
So, can we get some Prices Right theme songs while we wait?
Only $9.95.
Keep going, Jim. Keep going. Entertain the masses.
No pressure, Chris, but we're all waiting.
Yes. No pressure.
Jeopardy team.
So I had the whole description opened up here, pasted into a
hang on.
document.
Hey, Chris, while we wait, hang on. Are we good yet?
Oh wait, no, keep it going. Keep it going.
Okay. How about now?
You stop it too quick.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, you know what? I can't find it. So we'll
So in the meantime, talk about spaying, neuter, and cats.
I'm sitting here. I have no clue.
Chris, but we all waited for a really long time.
You know what? Hang on. Just because of that, now I'm going to find it. There's no
Oh,
more to it.
hey, load up Maltego.
Load up Maltego. That's great. Thank you. Okay. We'll move on, and I'll see if I can find that for you, Dave.
Keep trying.
Oh, please don't play that. Oh, God. Anyhow, I will find that. Hopefully, maybe I'll send the guy a quick email. Maybe he'll get back to me before the end of the podcast, and I'll be able to give you that information as far as the link. But the link for it definitely will be on the podcast notes page, so you can check that out and see that there. I wanted to actually complete one more thing about this bug thing. So the whole purpose in getting this wasn't just to bug my family and listen in on their private conversations. It was to test this bug detector, actually with a working RF bug and see how well it does. So I hit it, in a room and then scan the room, and I'm telling you, that thing does from a pretty good distance. Well, and then as you get closer, the lights and the sounds get a little brighter. So you can start pinpointing exactly where this thing is. So I'm going to try to see if I can get some video of this in action, and then post that to the site. See if we can just show how well these things work, because it really, really is a couple of great devices. The bug detection unit as well as the RF bug. I'll link to both of them on the podcast notes. Okay, so this story, this is interesting. Every month in the newsletter, we put something out that says if you have any ideas or you want to contribute to the site, feel free to email us at contributions@social-engineer.org. So every month we get a couple dozen emails of people who have some nice suggestions, have ideas on who we can invite in for the podcast, or
Sometimes pictures of themselves.
that you get those. We forward all those to you. And
Is that what's going on? Okay.
yeah, that's what's going on. So we this month I get this email from this gentleman who says that he has intricate details of how identity thieves do their thing, and he wants to release the information. And the email was very vague. It was from an anonymous account that really didn't lend to me trusting anything that was being said. So I wasn't rude, but I kind of blew him off. I kind of said, well, we get a lot of emails. If you want to send something in, write it up. We'll review it and edit it, and if it's good, we'll post it on the web page.
Just to let you know, I follow that same process too. So don't feel bad, guys.
About what?
Having to send an email out, you might get to you. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, really, I treat everyone the same. It's equal opportunity, okay? So, just because you're here doesn't mean I delete half your emails.
I know. Well, half of them have some bad stuff in them.
That's
so.
right. So auto delete. So this guy, he gets back to me like a day later, and he says, "Hey, I'm really serious about this. I think this information would be great, and I think your listeners really need to know it." And I responded and said, "Okay, well then write it up, and I'll review it." And instead of writing it up, what he sent me was some very, very detailed personal information that shocked the living snot out of me. And it got my attention. I emailed him back right away, and I'm like, "I'm interested, let's talk." So, of course, he calls me from a blocked line, and he tells me that, he doesn't want to give me his name. He doesn't want to give me any information. But I said to him, I need to know exactly how you obtained all this information, which we'll get into what it was later, more details. And he outlines it all for me. So, as a team, you guys recall this, we started to talk about, can we really release this information? Maddie, what did you call it? It was like
a social engineering 0 day.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 0 day for SEs. This was the information that he's released was like, man, is this responsible? Can we do this? So we took it a step further, and we emailed the EFF. Now the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the EFF kind of supports free speech and innovation, intellectual property. And they don't just do it for the U.S. They're an international organization that helps protect the rights of people to discuss, disclose, or talk about information in the public sector. So I emailed them and sent them a link to our website, told them what we do, and said, if they have any lawyers that I can talk to, I'd like to discuss this matter. So they sent me to a lawyer who I called, and she was very, very helpful. And we discussed everything, all details of everything that this guy has done, and where he is, and how it's going to be anonymous, and explain to them what information we're going to be releasing, and how dangerous this information is. And the lawyer said, we want to know it. We want to know this information so we can be protected. So we think that you should release this. They went back and looked into the law by the Information Privacy Act. I forget, it was like in the last decade. The Information Privacy Act came out. She said we should be pretty good to be able to release this information. So, after that, we kind of felt secure in being able to get this guy on the podcast and to have this information released. So that's where we're at. We invited him on. He's going to come on. We don't know his name or his identity. He goes by the name of Mantis, and he's going to come on anonymously and disclose this information to us about how identity thieves do their actual bad deeds, and then we'll have some more discussion after that. So before we get Mantis on the line, I just wanted to give a shout out to the folks at EFF. You can check out their website at www.eff.org. O-R-G. They offered all of this for no charge. They're an organization that helps people that have questions about their freedom of speech and intellectual property, and they're very, very good about doing this. A lot of the people that work with the EFF are lawyers in their trade. They do this for money in their day jobs, and they devote their time to help people like us who have questions about this, a news media, a podcaster, people who want to release information out, and they do this in a very professional and excellent manner. So, check out, these guys. They gave us permission to really, they're for this month. They're kind of like a sponsor for us, really, to help us get this information out there. So it's
And they take donations.
And they do take donations. Right on their website, there's a huge button on top right that says "Donate to the EFF." So if you like this information on the podcast, feel free to hook up there on EFF.org, click the donate button, and give them a few bucks for everything that they're doing. You'll see a lot of good information on their site too. They have some stuff in the bottom about social networking, patents.
They have a decent blog. They release some good information on their blog about different legislation that goes through that has privacy implications. So it's worth tracking.
Yeah, I agree very much. Okay, so now we'll get Mantis on the phone and start talking to him about the identity theft. Okay, so we have Mantis with us on the phone now. Mantis, I just got done telling everyone the story about how you came to us, with that first original email and how I kind of blew you off, but then you sent me some information that just caught my attention and basically made me stand up and say, I got to talk to this guy. So I guess
Yeah.
maybe our first question is first of all, why would you want to come forward with this information? This seems
I
like
mean, well, the main thing is people need to protect themselves from this kind of infiltration of people's personal information. It's not that hard to do. I mean, you can see it took me, an afternoon at most to get you back that information?
yeah, I think it was less than a day. I emailed you and it was like kind of blowing you off, and then the next day you had sent me that whole bucket of information that scared the crap out of me.
I just don't think most people understand how readily available this type of information is out there, and how often it's exchanged between private and governmental agencies on a daily basis, and not that hard to get a hold of.
Really, what I want to do at this point is before we even tell everyone the information that you got, just kind of like to complete the story. I know after you and I talked, we wanted to see if you were the real deal, so I gave you permission. I want to just make sure I say that, because we already talked on the podcast how we called lawyers and we made sure that this was all legit to release this information, and I know that you wanted to come on anonymously because of your name and your job and things like that, so that's all great. But I wanted to say that we gave you permission to do this using socialengineer.org. So can you outline like exactly the process that you took to obtain that information on me?
All right, well, it started out with I had a name. I went and I pulled your registry. I got your first and last name, and that gives me a pretty narrow field. I mean, there aren't that many people that happen to have your particular first name, last name combination. Of course, if you're like a John Smith or something very common, it does make it a little bit harder. But from there, you're able to go to, there are hundreds of private background sites and private lookup sites. A couple of them come to mind that are corporate level ones. There's a microbuilt.com. There's rapidcourts.com. I mean, literally spend 5 minutes on Google with the word background checks. And I mean, you've got, I think there's over 20,000 different hits. Once you're there, most of them offer you a people search or some sort of search that lets you search without much information on a person. You don't need a birthday. You don't need a state. I mean, there's not a lot required to it. And from there, what you basically would do is put it in, narrow it down. I figured out, what state you resided in. And from there, I kind of narrowed it down. I got a bogus social that I put in for you. Then I called up their customer service and said, hey, you didn't get the right Chris. And from there, it was a pretty much a social engineering hack from that point in time. I didn't steal anyone's data from anywhere. I didn't, there's no scripts, there's no nothing. It's just talking with support. And I know that they've got access. They have to have access in order for their business model to work, for them to be able to pull up the right people. So from there, it's just talking to the right person that has an unfiltered access to people's socials. I mean, it's that simple.
So I mean, just like to back up, you did a Whois, so that gave you
right.
my information on registration, which, by the way, we fixed that.
It gave me your name. It gave me your name and the state you lived in, and I think it gave me your host, but your host is in Arizona, so I knew that you didn't live in Arizona.
Okay, right. So then you go to Google and you do this background search information. You get some more detailed information on me, and then you call one of these companies. But when you go to their site, you purposely inputted a false Social Security number.
I'll make up a social. I mean, most people don't know, but a Social Security number is not a random number. The first 3 digits is a location code in the country, corresponding to the states and then the territories. And then next to is a check digit, which are released in a pretty weird pattern, but they're released. And then the last 4 digits is the actual Social Security number, your Social Security serial. So I could figure out pretty well, guessing about your age, guessing where I assumed you'd never left the state. What about your social should have started with? I don't want to put it on the air, but
don't, please.
From there, I got a pretty good gauge of where your social should be, in the scheme of numbers.
And so you inputted it with, maybe it was close, or maybe it had some accuracy to it, but you put it in this search engine in this website in the wrong format. and that
Correct.
triggers a phone
And
number.
when right, and when that kicks back to them, or it creates a ticket for them, or it allows me to interact with their customer service saying, hey, this is the wrong information.
Okay, so then you call them up on the phone, and you basically say, hey, this, but you inputted it wrong. So you say, well, this is the wrong info that's on the website here. And then how do you get them to actually spill their...
There's 101 ways to talk someone into doing something that you would like them to do. Generally, it breaks down to getting the right person at the right time, and just being nice to them. I mean, it's not a horrible thing. I tend to prefer to hack. I think we went over. I tend to prefer to hack females. I feel that they're an easier hack, not because they're stupid, not because of anything. It's just there are certain things that I'm able to read off of females a lot better than I can read off a male, and it makes for a more enjoyable hack for me. And it's one of those things that I just have a preference. Everyone has a preference for who they're going to hack if they have a choice.
Well, when you called in, you were basically being me. So
yeah,
when you called in,
essentially.
you were Chris Hadnagy, and you wanted to get this information.
Correct. And once I go through and she's got the right report, or I assume she's got the right report, he's got the right report, I asked her to read me off the social to verify it because it had been wrong the previous time. And they read it off to me. But I mean, that's just one of a couple ways. I also told you sometimes on these people searches, they'll show you the first 5 or the last 4 of the social, and you can splice them together with relative confidence that you've got the right social.
Okay, hold on one
and
second.
then if you want to verify that, you can take that social that you've now generated by splicing the two together, and you can verify it from that. I mean, it's not as private a number as most people out there think.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question on that. So, basically what it sounded like is as long as you have some knowledge of where the person's from, you can kind of, and how Social Security numbers work, you you can guess a relatively close one.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't even involve, well, it doesn't have to involve knowledge of the Social Security system and how it works. Most of the sites will offer you a free search. One of the ones that I have favored in the past is Identity PI. They'll let you, without putting any credit card information or anything, you put in a name, first and last name, and a state, and from there you are able to run, I think it's basically like a phone book lookup, but it gives the person's relatives and their names and the last known residence and a phone number, but most importantly, it shows you the first 5 of the social.
Yeah, I'm telling
Once you have the first 5, yeah. Once you get the first 5, there's only 10,000 other possibilities out there. I mean, you've eliminated, 95% of other possible socials for that individual, and from there you can really hone it in and start trying to, what your plan of attack is to get the remaining 4.
Yeah, and so basically, you had my date of birth, my name, the state I live in, my address. So when you called this company, it was easy enough to convince them you were me, and you needed to verify what they had on their accounts. I'm sorry?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, yeah, this is how people do it. Steal people's bank accounts. You do the same with a bank. If I wanted, I could call up your cable company and shut off your cable power. I mean, the power of being able to get someone social is everything in this country revolves around a Social Security or your Social Security number. And if someone gains access to it or your Social Security is compromised, your identity is compromised. Anyone can become you. You can figure out those numbers.
Yeah, I just
Mantis, I have a question, if I may. If I were to pay these companies their fee, would I be getting the same type of information? Would I be getting people's Social Security numbers?
Sometimes, if you're a business, from what I understand, I don't have a business license, so I've never ran as a business with some of the larger companies. I understand if you're a business, you're allowed to get a full social with all their information, unfiltered. As an individual, the reports come back filtered, and the socials will be masked, and you'll be limited to a certain range, a date range. I think it's 7 years, and I mean, you basically get if you're paying them, you get the same information, but you won't get as full of an information as what I got by going in and doing it the the way I did it.
I understand.
Or you won't have 100%. You won't have that 100% guarantee that someone on the other end just told you, "Hey, yeah, that's your social, or that's the social."
Yeah, I understand.
And this is the basic process that identity thieves are using daily. I mean, whatever hack they're using at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys read the old Jolly Roger cookbook back when you were younger and read about, how to get free credit cards was dumpster diving for carbon copies back in the day. But those days are long, long gone. People get your social. Then once they've got your social, they can call up your credit card company. They've got your social. They've got your birthday. They've got your old mailing address. They just have it mailed to wherever they want to. They get a new card. They do whatever. They can go in and they can transfer funds around. I mean, it's actually very scary if you think about it.
Very scary.
That's a pretty slick hack.
It's a fun one. It's not one that I'd recommend everyone go out and do because I think the penalties for it, if caught, is I think 15 to 20 because it is a federal. But
so yes, kids at home, do not do
for.
this.
Do not do this.
Don't do it. Yeah, do the opposite of Nike. Just don't do it.
So I'm curious.
So now let's come to the leading question of how does one protect himself from this?
Yeah, that's kind of where this was all leading down towards. Mantis, at what point during your hack would something have, like, what could I have done? Let's say that something would have completely stumped you and you would have been screwed and not been able to get any info from me.
Well, the first one would have been if your Whois didn't have your name on it. I know that's hard for some people who aren't companies that don't have a DBA or anything to get their name off their Whois. But that first part would have stumped me. I would have had to put a lot more legwork and effort into it. It might have not became such an appealing hack from that point. Other things are I've I don't know if anyone knows what skip tracing is, but I've done skip tracing in the past for collection agencies more than once. The easiest way to get all of someone's info is go on Facebook, add them as a friend, wait for them to accept, and then see what they posted about themselves on Facebook, MySpace, any of those. Those are absolute gold mines for getting information on people.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if any... Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, in the last couple months, all of our newsletters and our podcasts have been focusing on the dangers of social media. And we've been showing, last month's newsletter was actually all about harvesting information on individuals using the many different forms of social media, from Blippy and Twitter and Facebook and all those out there.
And believe it or not, a company called Intellius, I don't know if you guys have iPhones or not, but has just started marketing a product for dating, which is an iPhone app which allows you basically to do a background search on someone while you're sitting there, and doesn't necessarily go into the social and all that, but it runs their name, their date of birth against criminal, and then from there it runs their name and their date of birth against MySpace, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay, so Mantis, tell me again, what's the name of this program you just said for the iPhone?
It's a company called Intellius. They're one of the, I'm not going to say the biggest, but they're definitely one of the bigger information warehouses out there of information. I believe, well, I know for a fact they're used by insurance companies, just a whole bunch of different things. I'm not sure if officially they're used by the federal government, but I know in my past experiences with federal agencies that they have special access to Intellius's databases. But what Intellius has gone ahead and done is they've created an app for the iPhone that I've seen on their website, and I think I've seen in testing on some iPhones of some people that I know. There is, they call it like a date checker or a save date or something. I don't remember the exact name. But what it allows you to do is to basically go out to dinner with a guy or a girl, take their name, get their date of birth, put it in this app, and then run this app, and it'll pull up their criminal histories and all that stuff. And then once it's pulled that information, there's an option to go have it run a social networking search, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, all those fun things.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, I have an application like that. It's called Background Check by Been Verified.
Yes, I have that same one, but I didn't know it did the social media check, so I was wondering what this one was from Intellis, because I've used Intellis before. So I was curious about that one.
I've seen it on their website in a couple different places, and I've had people point it out to me. I refuse to buy an Apple, so I haven't actually used it. But I have seen, I think there might be a YouTube video, too, of a demo of it out there. But I'd have to look around on the internet. It's pretty scary. I mean, the biggest thing you could do to stop from being hacked or make yourself a less likely target is limit your information. Set up your privacy on social engineering. Don't just add people. I have friends that have over like 3,000 friends, and I ask them, well, do you know all these people? No, of course I don't know half the people. I mean,
they collect them.
Personally, on my Facebook, on my Facebook, I have 16 people that are on my Facebook that aren't on one of the lists that excludes them from private information. And my mom, my dad, and my brothers and sisters, and that's about it. And like 2 close personal friends. But it's just the harder you make it to get personal information about you, the less likely someone's going to want to go after you, because there's 100 other people out there who've got their name, their birth date, their phone number, all that stuff on their Facebook or wherever.
Oh, that happens so often. So what we were talking about was the protection methods. So you talked about your Facebook friends and a little bit about how not including just everybody. But from a more detailed specification on the hack that you did on me, of course, you didn't use any social media sites to get to me.
No.
So what other things could I have done besides the blocking the who is information? What other things could I have done?
I guess making yourself a little more anonymous on your website. I mean, your website's not quite super high profile, but it definitely is high profile. And when I get in there and I get to the who is, I mean, a who is. I mean, I hope most of your listening audience knows how to do a who is. But when you're able to just pull up someone's first and last name and stuff like that from a who is, and where they're at, it gives you instead of a shot in the dark, at least it gives you a goal of where to aim your searches.
Well, let me ask you a question here. Like, for example, the prior company I worked for, they provided LifeLock, and I actually continued it over. I was curious in your thoughts on LifeLock, and why I ask is from LifeLock.
Crap.
Well, hang on. So I'm not necessarily looking at LifeLock from a protection perspective. Well, what I'm looking at LifeLock for is if they screw me or somehow you guys get around them, they'll reimburse me up to $2 million to fix it. So me as a consumer,
I look at LifeLock as insurance. That's it. They don't do what. If you read around on the internet, you can find out the owner of LifeLock has not only been an identity victim. I think ridiculous number in the teens. It's like 13 or 15 times since LifeLock was invented. But he's had people that have gone out and like opened like lines of credit and companies and all kinds of crazy stuff in his name. Because he puts his social out there. LifeLock is nowhere near as safe as they profess it to be. The only reason I would maintain a LifeLock account would be, like you said, for the $2 million. If when I got hacked.
Well, I mean, in the hack that you used, in the hack that you used, though, I don't even know if LifeLock would have prevented it, for the simple reason that LifeLock really protects against. Someone's trying to take out a credit card in your name or something like that. Like when I went to go get my new Motorola Droid, they had to do a background check on me and stuff, but they had to do a credit check. And as soon as they did the credit check, the LifeLock person actually had to talk to me. You got the LifeLock call. Yeah, I got the LifeLock call, and I had to answer very specific questions. And it's stuff that I would generally you're not going to find on the internet. And these questions, they have like a series of like 500 questions that they can ask you, and you pick like 4 of the 500 that you feel comfortable answering. But the majority of them, you're not gonna, as an attacker, you're not gonna know them or be able to find it probably on the internet, would be my guess. That's
very true.
And that's only in the credit case. But I don't think your attack would have stopped it.
No, there is no way to stop it the way I did it. With these private investigation type deals or these background investigations, there is a check going through. It's not going through any of the credit bureaus. It's basically going through private databases and government databases that have pretty much already pulled your info. I mean, your info is already on their databases. Nothing's going through the credit bureaus. Nothing's being pulled. Nothing new is being pulled or generated.
So really, the only thing that would have, like a service like that, is that after you got the information, you would not have been able to use it without going through the LifeLock check or something like that. Let's say another service like that, but you would have still had the information.
Well, I would have it, but the only things I would have been barred from would be lines of credit and credit cards, in theory. But even with LifeLock, the only thing LifeLock would stop me from doing is opening a new card. I could go to a credit card company, say, yeah, I don't have my account number. Let me look it up by your social. What's your social? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, here's your account. Can you verify your address? My address is 123 Main Street, Anytown, USA, California, whatever. And right there, now you've got access to a credit card or a bank account without LifeLock even being alerted.
Huh.
So to take that the next step forward, if there's not a service that people can do to defend themselves against that sort of attack, from your opinion as someone that knows how to conduct this sort of activity, what could be put in place that is not in place right now that would mitigate the risk?
I don't think there is. I think the Social Security number is so widely used out there that it's pretty hard to avoid it. I mean, it's something out there. I mean, I guess the penalties might be a deterrent for some people to do that type of stuff, but I really don't think there's any surefire way other than keeping yourself under the radar, keeping your head down, and limiting your exposure. Whenever when I was going out for temp agency jobs and stuff, and they'd ask me for my social, I'd say, "Is my social required?" And if they'd say no, I wouldn't give it to them. It's limiting your exposure is the key to preventing opportunities.
Okay, great. So, guys, this is the last podcast. Sorry, we're closing shop.
Yeah, really. But I mean, the best thing is to be proactive. Check to see if new lines of credit are open. Look at your credit reports. Maybe someone's sloppy. Maybe someone runs a credit check on you when they get that information. I mean, there's no way to stop it. It's not designed to be something that's monitored. Maybe in the future there'll be a way to monitor it, but as far as I know right now, the only monitoring happens at the private database level, and the only way that the private database gets kicked or tripped is if you do something like try to run a public official or a senator or something that clearly doesn't need their background checked.
Interesting. So what you're saying then is not concentrate so much on prevention outside of limiting your exposure, but rather look at detection as being the best defense.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Wow.
The data's already out there. The information's already out there. You're not going to get your name removed from it. Trust me, I know the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and you can opt out and all this stuff. And I've tried the opting out path, and 6 months later, I'm back in their database, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, basically to opt out completely, you have to not only opt out, but then never buy anything and never use your Social Security number or credit for anything.
Right. So you can't. You're paying cash for cars. You can't really have a house, apartment, water bill, cell phones. I mean, you're a hermit in a trailer in Montana.
Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like Elwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You might be safe then.
Wow, that's.
That aside, this is very grim news.
What was that, Mutz?
I'm saying, laughing aside, this is very grim news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of a positive spin to put on this. I mean, normally our podcast, so Mantis, like we'll discuss something and then we'll talk about the social engineering angle or ways to mitigate this attack, so our listeners who are in companies can figure out a way that they don't fall prey to what we're talking about. And basically what you just said was game over.
Well, and along those lines, the interesting thing to me on this is how can you live modern life, especially for a younger person that's coming up, maybe going to college. Facebook is a necessity for them as part of their classes. How does someone like that, really put themselves in a position where they're not going to be vulnerable to this?
Limit exposure, limit who has access to it. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Facebook is kind of up their privacy features where it can just be friends that can view your stuff. That'll sometimes stop these types of things. I mean, the thing to remember is any information you put out there is out there forever on the internet. There is no take this away from the internet. Once it's exposed to the internet, it's out there forever. So I think it's starting and being proactive when you first get on the internet, not putting your name out there in lights, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Well, I got an idea. I mean, maybe if we start our own island, like a new country, and we build our identities up in a very secure manner, it might work.
I doubt it. But
No?
You got people like Mantis out there who will infiltrate the island.
Hey, Mantis can come up with
island.
a way of protecting it, all right?
Oh, God. Lifetime of perfection.
I tell you, I'm with Mutz on this. I mean, I want to. I'm like constantly, my brain is scanning for an angle to make this a positive spin, but it just seems like really there's not. And what Elwood said seems to be the only thing that we can really discuss is just be aware of determining what's going on and what's being used and how to block it if you see something or how to react quickly.
Right.
The block would be at the companies that are have access to the databases. I think that's the only way to block it, and I think it's education. It would involve education for the people that have access to these types of databases, or anybody that has access to a full social. People that work at credit card companies, bank companies. I mean, that's the one way I can see, a positive thing would be to inform these people that work at, background screening companies or pre-employment screening companies, to be a little more tight-lipped with personal information like this. I mean, I realize it's not their personal information, but you have to see it from the aspect of the person that you're running it on. Even if, the person on the other end of the line says, oh, it's my scumbag ex-husband, I just want to get child support, I want to know where he's living. You never know that.
Yeah.
You never know, what someone's angle is or spin is.
Yeah.
I from one of the people I learned how to procure information from, one of the biggest things he told me is when he worked in the private sector doing people finding for people, PI stuff, was no matter what the story was that the person gave him, if it was like a sweetheart or something, he would always ask the person if they wanted to be found. And if the person did not want to be found, he'd refund the person their money, say, sorry, I couldn't find them.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's a great lesson. If someone doesn't want to be found, or, there's a reason. And it has to go the same way with information. If I was, your high school buddy from high school, I wouldn't need to be going through a private investigation site to locate, your social and where you are. I either know somebody that still knows you. I know what house you used to live in. I could probably go talk to your parents. I mean, there's 100 ways. Don't buy whatever sob story that someone gives you if you're working at one of these places. I guess would be the best preventative medicine.
I would say, would you see any sort of law regulation or legislation be something that would help this situation?
I think there probably are things on the books, probably already, but they're probably not enforced widely, or they're very hard to enforce unless some specific source or some specific database is leaking a lot of information that can be traced back to a single source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess on that end, that's a question that I just had. Elwood, I don't know if this was very similar to what you just asked, but is there liability then to these companies? Like, this company that gave out information, of course I don't want to do anything about it or with it because, we gave you permission to do this, and I don't want to name that particular company. But is there liability to them? Like, hey, you gave out my information to someone who wasn't me.
I don't know. I've never been on the legal aspect of it. I've prior to my civilian life, I kind of had a protected position with certain agencies where it really didn't matter how I got my information. From what I would approximate is if I was the company that leaked the information, I would say sue me and prove it. I mean, they're not the only company. They will have access to the database through whichever company they're going through. So I think it would end up on whoever the main database was who gave them the main access. But even then, prove it. I mean, I don't know statistics on it, but I'm sure that your name, your social, and your address gets passed around from multiple, databases on a daily, if not weekly, schedule.
Oh, I'm sure.
I know, from some friends I have work at three-letter agencies, records are updated on people of interest on a daily, if not bi-daily schedule for stuff like that. So, your information's floating around somewhere, and to prove where it came from, I don't think. I think you could prove liability, and I believe in my heart that company is liable. But to prove it legally and to go after them legally,
Yeah.
I think you'd need some pretty high-priced lawyers and some pretty deep pockets to go after them.
Well, I guess the lesson that we can learn from this podcast is that what are they? What's the encoder, Mutz? Shikata Ganai. there is no hope. There's really no way to fix this. It's just a matter of being more aware of what information you put out there, which kind of lends to the same information that we've been putting out for the last 2 or 3 newsletters and podcasts, is being more aware of social media usage and what information that you have out there. But even with, let's say, I'm not on a lot of social media sites, and I don't put my information out there a lot. I don't use credit cards often, but still, you were easily able to do this just because I am a normal American and I own things. So the fact that I own anything means that you can get this information. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, well, with the website, it makes it a little bit easier, but I know that there's access to reverse VIN numbers where I could run motor vehicles and stuff like that. But those things are a pain in the ass to get a hold of. They really are.
But realistically, in the case of Chris here, if it wasn't for the reverse lookup, there's a number of other ways, simply due to his job, that he can't control, that is going to put his name out there.
Yep.
That's just the nature of the beast.
Definitely with my work with OffSec and stuff, I'm not able to remain completely anonymous. It's impossible. Customers don't want to call the mysterious guy behind the curtain. They want a name and a phone number to get a hold of. So, I guess.
You mean you're not the wizard?
Yeah, not anymore. I thought I was until last month.
Chris,
Chris, why don't you tell us what exactly Mantis did get on you?
Yeah, this was the crazy part. So here I am, kind of rejecting him the whole time, not really believing him, and he sends me my full name, including my middle initial, my full mailing address, which is a PO box, which was a little crazy, my physical address, my street address, my phone number, and my social security number, and every single one. Oh, and my date of birth. And all of those things were 100% accurate. None of them were not made up or a digit off. They were all 100% accurate. And when I got that email, I'm like, okay, who the heck is this guy? And let's get him on
Someone
the phone.
knows something.
Yeah. This is not just some kid, spouting stuff off to get on the website. He actually knows what the heck he's talking about. And it made me stand up a little bit and go, okay, we need to figure out what's going on here.
Chris, for some reason, I think in all these podcasts, you're the one just getting owned all the time.
I know, man. Last month, with that stupid counting, I can't count. Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather be an idiot about math any day than have this happen to me again.
Actually, something that crosses my mind listening to everything that he got on you, though, is I wonder if you could intentionally put out misinformation. Somehow get yourself listed in various databases with the same name, but then put in, garbage information so that when hits do come up on you, which is the right one. I don't necessarily know how you'd do that, but
I assume you could, but I think that the databases probably have some sort of correction. I don't know. That's a good question to ask. I don't know the answer to that.
You probably could do that with almost everything except for your Social Security number.
Social. Yeah.
You know?
In fact, I don't know if you guys pay attention to Social Security news, but God, I want to say like 5 or 6 years back, there was a girl in New York that is doing federal time right now because she decided to put a different Social Security on all their job applications because she didn't want to give out hers. And the Social Security ended up belonging to pop star Jennifer Lopez. And there was a full investigation, and they fully prosecuted her.
Wow.
Yeah. So social you can't mess with, but all the other stuff, have at, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess it's just like with your idea, it's how much time and how paranoid and how much time you want to spend in creating a whole false real identity for yourself out there. And I guess that would also depend on your name. You know, my name happens to be pretty darn unique, and there's probably not too many of me in the world, whereas, you know, your name, even doing just a regular search, even in the state that you live, which I won't say that, there's a lot of you. There's quite a few of you. So it's a little, I think it's a little, depends too on what your name is. I mean, if my name was John Smith, I probably would be golden.
I can say you probably would be golden if your name was John Smith too. But.
You know. So man, I tell you, okay, you know, usually at the end we have like
the other thing.
Okay, so let's all change our names and have a happy weekend.
Yeah, usually at the end we have some like great, you know, some happy ending, and you know, it's like, okay, guys, do this and you'll be saved. And now it's like, I don't have anything great to end this podcast, you know.
Change your name, disown your parents, and have a good life.
Yeah. Mantis, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for a couple things.
You guys have any more questions in the future? Don't worry about it. So, yeah.
I will, but I want to thank you for a couple things. One is, you know, being persistent. You were, you know, coming back to me and making me stand up and listen. This information was very valuable. I appreciate your patience with waiting for me to go back to lawyers and not getting scared off and everything, and giving us this information. I think this is very, very valuable for a lot of people listening to this. Maddie compared it to a social engineering 0 day. You know, releasing this kind of information. Because it really is. It's something that maybe putting all the pieces together might seem very simplistic now that we hear it, but you know, having not even thinking about these things. Go ahead,
but
Maddie.
the bottom line has significant ramifications.
Yeah, and it's scary as heck.
Maybe this podcast will get some people in legislation to finally look at the facts that, you know, identity theft is so prevalent now, and maybe there'll be some reforms. But
you never know. We have a lot of different organizations, including law enforcement, listening to this podcast each month, and I'm sure that when this information is out there, it's gonna perk up a lot of ears, because this is scary stuff. You know, this is like the real world. So scary things here. So thanks for coming on, releasing this. You know, we appreciate your being
Absolutely.
anonymous and privacy there, but we definitely thank you for taking the time to do this.
And stay in touch. You know, reach out again whenever
absolutely,
something
man.
comes up.
I was gonna say, I promise none of you will be in the databases anymore if I can.
Thank you. Yeah.
Buddy, pal.
Yeah. When I was saying reach out to us, I meant that in a very non-malicious way. Excellent. So thanks again, Mantis. And you know, we will keep in touch. I'll be emailing you, and I'll send you the link for the podcast when it's released. And we look forward, if you get any other information, you know, if something else comes up where you think this needs to be released, you know, any other details you have on this kind of attacks, feel free to email me and let me know.
I'll keep my eyes open and ear to the ground. I'm sure there's other ways to do the same thing, and maybe even more malicious ways to do the same thing. So we will see.
Yeah, if you get that anything written out, just let me know.
I will.
Thank you, sir. We will talk to you again in the future.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Holy crap, guys! It's a little scary, huh? I don't know about you guys, but man, there's, you know, all I can think of in the ending, when I was trying to think of something like we always do with the podcast to bring it to a positive spin, was Shikata Ganai. You know, there is no hope. There's absolutely no hope here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's the thing. I mean, like that's the thing I kept thinking is, I understand and I appreciate the concept of limiting your exposure, and I think that that's good advice for everybody, and I think that everybody could probably do a little bit more for that. But on the other hand, there's only so much you can limit based upon what type of life you live. And you have to make trade-offs where, like, just to continue to pick on you, Chris, in order to do the job that you have, you need to give up a certain degree of privacy and a certain, and you can't limit your exposure too much. You are going to be out there.
Yeah, and at the same time, I have to do what you said before, which is be more aware and spend more time, analyzing my Social Security and my credit and how it's being used, and making sure I'm more in tune with those things.
Yep.
Otherwise, I can, any one of us can easily fall victim to these attacks.
It's frustrating when you have a situation where all you can do is respond. You can't really do much to prevent.
Yeah.
And you need to always have a good response plan, but on the other hand, you'd like to have a little bit of prevention on the front side of it as well.
Wow. Man, I tell you, guys, amazing, if you ask me, amazing podcast, very good information.
Well, it's one of those deals where it keeps coming back to at what point are we going to have to look at data privacy laws and who actually has ownership of this data. This comes up on the social media side all the time. People have asked me in the last couple of weeks, I put data out there on Facebook and then I close my account. Who owns that data? Does Facebook purge that? What happens to it? And each social network is going to have different rules for that. And how do we as a society deal with that issue? That's a tough one, but I think that those questions are going to need to be answered in order to solve problems such as this one.
I agree. I just don't know if the answers are readily available.
Or whether they'll be asked in time.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
It's probably too late already.
I had more hope for this before we talked to him, but we have a researcher that works with socialengineer.org. Her name is Melissa, and she wrote a wonderful white paper which outlines all the steps you can take to protect your. Now, this is I'm going to say this up front. This is geared more towards Americans, but the principles apply internationally. So sorry to all of our international listeners, but the white paper is kind of based on what you can do to protect your Social Security number. Producing the same kind of alerts that you pay LifeLock for, but doing this through the credit bureaus and different websites and things like that, and being more aware of the dangers out there and things you can do to protect yourself. So I'm going to release that information with this podcast and have that on the podcast notes, also as a PDF to download from the website. But even I had so much hope when I read the research that she sent me. I'm like, wow, this is excellent. This will be really good. And I still want to release it, but now I'm not feeling like it's as wonderful as it was before we talked to him.
It's not going to help with prevention. Maybe identification, maybe response, but beyond that.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Chris, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
When he actually gave you your Social Security number, what was that number?
Oh, it was 123456789.
See, you're doing good with numbers. You're doing good with numbers again, buddy. See, I'm going to stop you.
It was 5,000. That was a number that he gave me.
Just take
5,000.
your Social Security number. Add 10 to it. Add another 20. What is it now?
Crap! It's 2,642. Guys. I'm telling you. I remember the days when we would make fun of Dave for Sack Maniac, and now we moved on to me, and I don't really like this anymore.
Listen, I can't get it all the time. I mean, it gets old.
It doesn't.
It does.
Oh, man. Ed too much, eh? So, Relic, tell you that when we were talking before, I emailed my buddy at Spy Associates, Jeff, about this. Now, the reason, this will really lend, I'm going to leave some of that in the podcast, my searching, but there's a reason why I couldn't find it on the website, is he does not publicly sell this particular item. because it is so it's used for law enforcement, and it's so amazing the quality and the way it works, and the fact that it's completely battery operated, remote, wireless, that he doesn't even tell the price. So I have the price, which I will give you after we hang up on the podcast, because I got to edit it out. He asked me not to publicly release the price, but anyone who's listening to the podcast and wants
we know the price, you don't.
Nice, Mutz, nice.
No, I was saying if anyone wants to know the price, they can get a hold of Mantis, and he'll get it for them.
Yeah, get hold of Mantis, nice. If you can get his address. But I will give you the price after we're done here. But if anyone wants this device, I'm going to post the pictures and the write-up of it. He said I can do that, but you have to contact. I'll put an email contact directly to him as the president of the company, and then he'll do check, verify you are who you are, and then he can give you the pricing for this device, because it's really sold. He said this device is really sold to law enforcement and government because of the use. And I'm telling you, I didn't know it was that awesome, but when I started using it, it really is an amazing bug.
It's like an all-in-one type tool, or is it like a tool kit, or?
No, it comes in a little box, the bug itself is a tiny little black box with a mouse tail on it that has the antenna, and you can really hide it anywhere. And then the receiving unit is a whole separate unit, another separate unit that has looks like an antenna from an Alpha card on it.
Yeah.
And that's also battery, so you can plug it in and have it, so you don't ever have to recharge it, or you can just have it wireless. And it has two outputs. You can output it to headphones, or you can output it to a recording device, so you can just leave it and record everything that's coming through, and then listen to it later.
That's awesome.
Yeah, ridiculous, man. It really is. Very, very. You'll see the pictures. Very, very sweet device. Really, really nice.
Does that one with that one device that you had at ShmooCon actually pick that thing up, you think?
Yeah, it does. It picks it up. I've been scanning on it. It picks it up. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, that device, that bug detector, he said is the most high-end device that they have for bug detection.
And how much was that?
The bug detector? Yeah, let me tell you. I actually have a link to that.
Yes, we're waiting.
Here comes the music.
Yeah, hey, hang on. I lost the button. Darn it.
Awesome. I'm already there. Ha ha, sucker.
We're going to have to pay royalties for that now. This is horrible.
He's given us a good deal on the bug detector, $495.
Nice.
For that whole kit. And the bug itself, man, very, very reasonably priced.
We'll have to check that out. You have to tell me afterwards.
Yeah, I'll tell you shortly. But so anyway, check the podcast notes, which we'll link to on that. Again, thanks to Mantis for coming on and giving us this information. A huge thank you to the EFF electronic EFF.org. I'm gonna have to say that again. Electronic Frontier Foundation. EFF.org. Big thanks to them for all their help in making this podcast happen this week. Another huge thanks to SpyAssociates.com for all their support and their sponsorship with our efforts here. You can check us out, social-engineer.org, on the Freenode channel, irc.freenode.net, on channel social-engineer. Our Twitter account is Human Hacker. If you like the outro music, you can always check it out on ccmixer.org. The artist is Michael Anthony on ccmixer.org. We look forward to our next month's podcast. Promises to be amazing. We'll be leaking some information about that. Keep checking us on the website and on the internet. We'll talk to you guys next month. Thanks.
Forgetting about the things that you did yesterday. So many problems you face. Oh, walk that away. Stay on track. Walk on. Watch your back. Walk on. Stay on track. Walk on. Watch your back. Oh, walk on. Ooh, walk on. Walk on. Walk on. When I'm thinking about the times you say, talking about every single day. It's 2 step forwards and no one step back. Walk on, trying to remain on track. Yeah. Stay on track. Watch your back. 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 Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. You walk up in the line. Time after time. Thinking things will stay the same. Now the game isn't played that way. You've got to stay on track. Walk on, watch your back. Walk on, stay on track. Walk on, watch your back. Walk on, looking around you and thinking it's okay. Forgetting about the things that you did yesterday. But if you only knew that the game isn't played that way. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on. Stay on track, walk on, watch your back, walk on.